I'm pretty sure this video is a first for the channel, in the sense that I've never reviewed a German steam locomotive in TS Classic before. The BR10, also known by the nickname Black Swan, is a unique partially streamlined 462 Pacific built by Krupp in 1957. This design was intended to haul express passenger trains at speeds of up to 140 km per hour, but only two examples, numbers 10001 and 10002, were ever built, being the only steam locomotives built in the Deutsche Bundesbahn era. No more BR10s were built due to the ongoing modernisation of Germany's railway system, which involved electrification on numerous lines and the introduction of diesel locomotives elsewhere. The BR10s were notable for a few reasons, including their bullet nose smokebox door and shrouding that covered the cylinders. Meanwhile, their route availability was restricted as a result of their high axle loading. Their original home was a town by the name of Bebra, but due to further electrification, they were transferred to Kassel in 1962 and worked alongside the BR01-10s on services to Gießen and Münster. 10002 was withdrawn in 1967 after suffering a broken side rod, and later scrapped in 1972. As for 10001, she was withdrawn from normal service in 1968, but apparently survived on carriage heating duties in Ludwigshafen until 1971. Somehow, I got Ludwigshafen confused with Kaiserslautern on the Pfälzische Ludwigsbahn route in TSW. Go figure that one out. In any case, 10001 was saved for preservation, and is now a static exhibit at the German Steam Locomotive Museum in Neumarkt-Würzburg, around 80 km northeast of Nuremberg. I have at least one steam-focused German route in my train simulator collection, namely the Brockenbahn, but I couldn't really use it as a main setting for this video because it's a narrow gauge line, and the BR10 runs on standard gauge. I had thought of picking up the Wutachtalbahn, since that's a German route catering to standard gauge steamers, but I decided against it since I would have no use for the route outside of this video, so I didn't think it would be a sensible use of money. In any case, and somewhat ironically, the Wutachtalbahn is sold for the same price as the BR10, and was on a better discount of 60% off in the recent sale. In the end, I decided to be a yobbo and mostly run the BR10 on some of the British routes that I've got, even though that doesn't make any sense at all. Thinking back to the Brockenbahn, this route is quite pleasant where its scenery is concerned, and that 210-2 tank engine is reasonably satisfying to drive. The Deutsche Bundesbahn BR10 was released on Steam in December 2016, and is still available after all this time for a full price of 24 New Zealand dollars, or around £10, but I got the engine for $11.99 in my local currency, as she was 50% off in a recent Steam sale. I didn't find out until after I bought the BR10 from Steam that, alternatively, you can get this thing from Just Trains' website, and the pack on that site also includes AI-only versions of the steam locomotive 18201 and Österreichische Bundesbahnen Class 1020 electric locomotive, but since you can't drive them, they're no great loss to me. If you've seen the Thomas & Friends film, The Great Race, you might recognise the BR10 as she is the basis for Frieda from that film's, in my opinion, borderline excessive and debatably necessary cast of international locomotives. For the record, I know very little about German steamers, so my review will mainly focus on the overall quality of this add-on. Dare say anyone who's more knowledgeable on the BR10 could point out any major inaccuracies with the model. In saying that, one thing I noticed early on was the shape of the bullet nose smokebox door, which, to my eyes at least, doesn't look as pointed as it does on the real locomotive. In any case, the bullet nose reminds me of a few other streamlined locomotives, such as the New Zealand Railways J-Class, and, to a lesser extent, that green Australian thing whose fame I don't understand. In this add-on, the two BR10 locomotives are depicted in their respective original conditions, with 10002 being fully oil-fired and 10001 being mostly coal-fired with supplementary oil firing. That setup makes no sense to me. In any case, 10001 was modified to be fully oil-fired in 1959, but that variant isn't included in the pack. Alongside the BR10 herself, the add-on also comes with a first-class passenger coach, although I don't know what type of coach this is. It doesn't help that neither the manual nor Steam listing say anything about a specific name for this design. In any case, I question why only a first-class variant was included, as opposed to multiple variants. Incidentally, the BR10 can couple up to British rolling stock, as long as the stock is equipped with buffers and screw-link couplers. Thinking back to the modelling, and as I alluded to earlier, I don't know enough about these engines to say whether or not anything else is wrong, apart from the shape of that bullet nose. In any case, I feel that the BR10 is let down by her low quality textures, which, in my opinion, are especially bad in the cab. I also noticed that the tender's main colour doesn't match the locomotive, and that's something I spotted right after placing this thing on the track for the first time. Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. I swear I'm seeing horrible low-resolution textures everywhere I look on this locomotive. Examples include the wheels, valve gear, whistle, cab interior, whatever this thing is behind the funnel on the left-hand side, and even the blast pipe and the end of the boiler tubes inside of the smoke box. I don't have to be a developer myself in order to notice and point out bad texturing when I see it. Just making sure I say that in case some smarty pants tries the tiresome "you do better" argument. For a comparison of textures, here is the United States Army Transportation Corps S-160, brought to TS by Victory Works, and released in the same year as the BR10. To my eyes at least, the textures are quite a downgrade from what you can see on the BR24, which, incidentally, was released before the BR10. As for noteworthy features on the BR10, it's more or less the standard set that I've come to expect from romantic railroads, having experienced their BR24, Clear Creek log and lumber, and freeware Portuguese locomotives. Alongside the standard keybinds for steam locomotive controls in TS, You can also use the Z key to open and close hatches and a filler cap on the tender, the U key to open and close the smoke box door, E to work the cylinder covers, and V to work the cab side windows and doors, as well as the coach's windows when you're hauling that green first class thing that comes with the BR10. But annoyingly, there's no option to open the cab doors independently of the windows. It's worth mentioning that the Locomotive also has a functioning PZB system, with details on how it works being found in the manual. Although one quick look through the manual will tell you that the developers didn't have English as their first language. In any case, even if I was running the BR10 on a German route, I would drive with PZB disabled, as I've never been able to wrap my head around how that system works. Weirdly, the BR10 also works with AWS magnets on British routes. You also get 4 career mode scenarios for the old, and now somewhat dated, Hamburg to Hanover route of July 2013. Well, I say 4 scenarios, but 2 of them are just tutorials, and there are very few additional scenarios for the BR10 available on Steam Workshop, so there's not much you can do with this locomotive outside of free roam scenarios or quick drive mode. Incidentally, I found that she can't actually reach her design top speed of 140 km per hour, and that she would not accelerate past 130. Do with that information what you will. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that the BR10 also comes with fully functional water crane, coal loader, oil supply crane, and water tower assets, although they have to be placed on a route manually in the scenario editor. Meanwhile, the version available from Just Trains' website also comes with 2 scenarios for the 3 country corner route, one that I don't own. As for the driving experience on the BR10, this is where the add-on really falls apart. For one thing, the Locomotive is unrealistically quick off the mark, and the rolling resistance is stronger than it ought to be, even when you're going downhill. I swear I remember one reviewer on Steam saying that this locomotive doesn't seem to like maintaining steam above 50 km per hour, or 30 miles per hour, but I didn't experience that myself, and as mentioned earlier, managed to get her up to 130 km per hour, albeit with ridiculously quick acceleration, even when the regulator was only open a small amount. For whatever reason, the manual doesn't say anything about what the ideal fire mass is supposed to be, so you'll just have to figure it out as you go along. The BR10 is a thirsty engine too, and doesn't even appear to get wheel slip, not even in heavy snow or rainstorms, and a situation isn't helped by the low quality sound set. Her whistle sounds like the hooter that you'd hear on the LMS Jubilee 460 and other Stania designs, but for some reason, this whistle is really quiet to the point where it could be difficult to hear above the safety valve and chuffing sounds. To add, the standard spacebar whistle will either play only a short blast, or, if you hold down the spacebar for more than 1 second, it loops and kind of sounds like 2 whistles are going off at once, while there seems to be only one short recording for when you press the B key. Meanwhile, the audio for the hatches, cab windows, brake lever, reverser, and horrible brake screeching that reminds me of the Class 150 is exactly the same as what the developer would use again on the locomotives in the later Clear Creek Log and Lumber pack. Not helping the German Pacific's situation are the terrible chuff sounds, although I'm not sure exactly how to describe what's wrong with those sounds. Even for the discounted price I paid, I wouldn't consider the BR10 add-on from Romantic Railroads to be all that good, but if you're still curious to pick it up for yourself, I would advise against doing so at full price. I am of the opinion that the BR10 is a fascinating locomotive in real life, but the TS Classic version doesn't really do her justice. While the features such as opening smokebox doors, cylinder covers, and tender hatches, not to mention the inclusion of those coal, oil and water refueling assets, act as a silver lining of sorts, the overall add-on is soured by the locomotive's low-quality sound set, overpowered physics, and washed-out low-resolution textures, not to mention the inclusion of only one variant for that green passenger coach. All things considered, I think the BR10 from Romantic Railroads only deserves a 3.5 out of 10, and quite frankly, this thing has put me off from wanting to buy any more add-ons from the developer in question. To other TS Classic players looking to pick up some steamers for their collection, I'd say that you'd be better off buying something from developers like Precision Locomotive Developments and Caledonia Works. I don't know the German scene well enough to know if any developers over there can make DLC on par with what PLD and CW can put together. In any case, and if you've stuck around to the end of the video, you win a German sausage that gets excessively pampered and throws a tantrum when its mum doesn't allow it to sit at the back of the bus. It's the spoiled brat versed.